The AMPED Pro Air is Selkirk's latest paddle, but how does the AMPED Pro Air stack up against the other Selkirk paddles that came before it? Specifically the Power Air, LUXX Control Air, Vanguard Control, and Project 005. As some of you may know, the AMPED Pro Air is based on the Project 005. Even though they share a lot of the same DNA, Selkirk Labs took player feedback into great consideration and overhauled it to create the AMPED Pro Air. It has much more power, feel, and stability than the 005. However, with all that increase in overall performance comes an increase in weight. At least it will feel that way. The overall average swing weight of the AMPED Pro is just a little bit higher than Selkirk's other paddles. This means it has more power and plow through than most other paddles. I'm actually going to rank the AMPED Pro Air, Power Air, LUXX Control Air, and Vanguard Control in the categories of power, spin, control, and touch/feel. So in the category of power, we have the Power Air at the top spot, then comes the AMPED Pro Air, then the LUXX Control Air, and finally finishing off, we have the Vanguard Control. The AMPED Pro Air is way ahead of the LUXX Control Air and Vanguard Control when it comes to power. So when it comes to power, the AMPED Pro is actually maybe just behind the Power Air. I actually find them very similar in terms of power when driving from the baseline. The only reason I put the Power Air ahead is because the shots coming off the Power Air for volleys and blocks have more speed. So the Power Air has both power from the baseline and pop at the no volley zone, while the AMPED Pro has power from the baseline with a little bit less pop at the no volley zone. So if you are coming from the LUXX Control Air or Vanguard Control and need more power but not ready to commit to the Power Air, the AMPED Pro is a pretty good option. Okay, in the spin category, at number 1 we have the Vanguard Control, then the LUXX Control Air, followed by the Power Air, and then finally the AMPED Pro Air. So when it comes to spin, the Vanguard Control remains at the top, no surprises there. The LUXX Control Air and Power Air are just a hair below the Vanguard Control, with the AMPED Pro Air at a step below that. It definitely gets good spin, but you have to get underneath the ball a bit and you may have to change your technique just a tiny bit. So there is a little bit of an adjustment period. Control, we have the LUXX Control Air at number 1, then the Vanguard Control, the AMPED Pro, and then the Power Air. So when it comes to control, the paddles with the word control in their names are clearly better and should be. The gap between the LUXX Control and the Vanguard Control are closer than you may think, and the AMPED Pro Air comes in at 3rd. Although it has some power, there is pretty good feedback to the player when striking the ball. You can drive, drop, dink, and pretty much perform every shot with it. The only reason why it doesn't place higher is because the LUXX Control Air and Vanguard Control are just better at certain shots like resetting and drop volleys and pretty much any other shot that requires a little bit of finesse. Last but not least, we have touch and feel, where I think the AMPED Pro places in 3rd and much closer to the Power Air. However, the thicker 16mm core softens the touch and the feel of the AMPED Pro, so you are essentially giving up a little pop and speed for a bit more finesse and feel, at least when comparing the AMPED Pro to the Power Air. All in all, I would describe the AMPED Pro Air as an all-court paddle and a more versatile Power Air that's a bit heavier, a little less powerful, but with a bit more touch. If the Power Air doesn't have the feel you need, or the LUXX Control Air doesn't have the power you desire, then the AMPED Pro is probably the solution. All right, that's it for this video. Catch you guys on the courts.